Okay.
Right, awesome. Okay, welcome to Investors Copy Time. For those who join us, thank you so much for joining us today. It's basically a session on business, and the key topic today is basically about agility. All right, so we have a special guest today, Julius Wee of Nikao Consulting, and he's a Management 3.0 certified consultant or a facilitator. All right, and personally, Alvin and I have actually been to his workshop, right? And we've definitely got some advantage and some really good pointers from Julius. And being on this program, this Copy Time program, is also one of the things that we are being agile as well, right? And we have also started to even have our series of e-learning online, right? And I guess that's very important. So Julius is going to share with us very important advice and tools and tips that you can actually know how to be agile in your business, so that in order to survive, especially in crises like this, right? And in order to thrive as well. And because right now, one of the reasons why we actually went to the workshop as well, because managing millennials right now is also a challenge, right? I'm sure some businesses who have been around, trying to manage, especially the younger ones, it's important to know, right, what they actually want and what they actually want to achieve personally and also for the company. All right. So thank you, Julius, for joining us.
Great to be here. Thanks.
All right. So before we start, I'm just going to make some announcements. And, as usual, we actually have our disclaimer. So whatever that we share here today, right, is basically for informational and educational purposes only. All right. So it's not intended as any advice or whatsoever. But today we're not going to talk about investment, so it's okay, I guess. Right. And for those who just join us, welcome. We have our session. We call it Investors Copy Time on a daily basis. All right. And we have sessions on investment. We have session on businesses. We have session on crypto. And we have quite a number of things lined up in the next few weeks, all right, to basically educate investors, also to share knowledge with business owners, and to basically get you guys well informed of what's happening and the skills and the tools that we need to use to be a well-informed investor, and also probably a business person or entrepreneur. All right. So if you like, please, if you're still new, please do share, do like and follow us on our Facebook page to get notifications whenever we are online. And also, if you are on our Facebook page, please subscribe to our Facebook page, because we also stream this live on a daily basis at 8 p.m. on our YouTube page. It's Equities Tracker, so you can search on Equities Tracker on YouTube and then subscribe to us. All right. Okay, I'll make some of the announcements later on, but today, we're gonna basically, Julius, the platform is all yours. So, this is where I think you can start to share with us. And maybe Alvin, you want to add something before Julius get into the platform?
Yeah. I think we attended Julius's course last year, and I think he brings to business owners a different perspective of how to manage your business, especially now in times like this, COVID-19, where you actually have to re-innovate, right? Your business, or you have to pivot. So there's some of the mindset that goes behind it. Is actually very important. And I also attended a COVID session that he held, which was done over Zoom. I think he had some really good practical advice, and I think for all the business owners who are listening in, we hope this session becomes useful and you can take away some tips and tricks. Just that one little insight that can potentially improve your business as well.
All right, so Julius, you ready? Guys, if you have any questions at all when Julius is presenting, please type in the comment section so that we will bring these questions up for Julius later to answer. Right, so you can just type it now if you want to. Of course, he hasn't started yet, but at any point of time you can ask the questions, and we'll ask Julius. All right. So Julius, the stage is yours. Welcome once again.
Yep. Thanks, Benny. Thanks, Alwyn, and good evening, everybody. If you can just show my slide deck, Faiz. Okay,
Yep.
brilliant. Okay, so we're talking about agility as the key to overcoming crisis. And actually, when we are in a time of crisis, it's not a storm, it's something pretty much like a hurricane. And what a lot of people try to do wrongly is when you're fighting against a crisis or a hurricane, a lot of people try to do what they do with fighting huge waves. They try and paddle against it. But a crisis is something that's beyond what you can do. A crisis doesn't necessarily mean just coronavirus, but for example, the industry has changed. Things are no longer the same. People no longer, for example, use oil lamps. They use electricity. And if you have an oil lamp company, you're fighting against a hurricane. You can't fight. So what the key is agility. You have to be able to roll with it. Yeah. So what's happening is this is an article by Forbes, and Forbes in May, if you can see that, May the 3rd, 2020, it says this: Agile isn't new, or agility isn't new. What's new now is the C-suite embracing it. So CEOs are now embracing it. CFOs, Chief Financial Officers, are embracing it. CIOs, Chief Information Officers, well, they will embrace it all the way from the beginning. CMOs, Chief Marketing Officers, are embracing it. And all the C-suites are now embracing it. And just a quick snapshot from the article, it says this: as the global coronavirus is forcing many organizations to act with unaccustomed speed. So for example, before this coronavirus, they didn't really have to change, or it would take maybe 3 years to change. But now they actually have to change in 3 weeks. So they have to act with unaccustomed speed. Organizational agility is suddenly becoming a necessity. So all the C-suites realize that, and they realize they have to change. Yeah. So the question is, what do you mean in the article? What do you mean that Agile isn't new? Or for some of you who are not familiar with Agile, I mean, what is Agile to begin with? Now I'm going to talk about Agile in its original form. This is not what I'm going to focus on from a business point of view, but just as a background, Agile started with Agile workflows or Agile project management. So this is before businesses became Agile. Work had to be Agile. Now, why did work have to be Agile? A quick history behind projects, for example, when you started projects last time, for example, in the 1970s, waterfall project management was the way to go. And what would happen is it's a very structured way of doing projects. You would plan the projects, get all the stakeholders buy-in, make sure there's enough budgeting, secure the budgeting from the company, make sure that the scope is correct, the stakeholders like it. Once everything is okay, then you start designing it, you start doing all the plans. So in terms of programming, you will talk to the users, you'll find out what they want. In terms of, for example, architectural or construction, you find out what the building is, and you spend a few more weeks or a few more months doing that. Then for programmers, you go into the programming of the actual thing. Or for example, for construction, you start designing the building and things like that. Then for programmers, you would test the source. You test to make sure that it doesn't have bugs, it doesn't crash. And once it's there, then you release it. Now, a problem with this form is, what if the project, which is really huge and could cost millions of dollars, and it takes maybe a year to do it, what if it gets cancelled halfway? Sometimes budget changes, and suddenly you're doing the project, and halfway into the project, suddenly the boss says no more budget. Then you're in problem. What if the company gets merger and acquisitions? What if you buy another company or another company buys you and the project suddenly changes? What if suddenly the customer changes their request because their bosses change their priorities or things like that? So software programmers were stuck, and so they came out with this thing called Agile workflows in 1990s. Different software programmers around the world came up with different kinds of methodologies, and in 2000, the Agile Manifesto, which is a combination of all these practices, came together, and so we have Agile workflows and Agile project management. That's how Agile started. Yeah. So this is in a way how it looks like. So we have a really huge project, right? And what happens is, instead of doing the whole project, I'll start with one piece, right? And I'll work on this one piece, and within this one piece, maybe there are 4 sections, say for example, and each section needs to be completed within 1 to 4 weeks. And everyone would meet daily in a stand-up meeting. Why stand-up? Because we don't want to waste everybody's time. Once you sit down in a meeting, the meeting drags. So they would actually have stand-up meetings to make sure everybody is on track, and the deliverable has to be done in a week to 2 weeks to 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks at the most. Then you iterate the process and you go on, and within maybe a month to 3 months, there is a shippable product. So what happens is, this is very agile, because within 1 month to 3 months, suddenly you deliver the product, and if the customer says, that's not what I want, at least you can change it, rather than wait for 1 year and the customer says, that's not what I want. And also, what happens if budget gets cut? Then it's okay, because I've already made a shippable product. So that's what we call agile workflows, right? Agile work. But what is agile businesses? And what is agile leadership? So that's the question that we want to really address today. And it's made more apparent because the coronavirus has affected the entire world. And suddenly, companies cannot have long-term planning. You cannot have a 1 year or 3 year or 5 year strategic plan, because everything is disrupted. Everything has changed. So business, not just work, but business has to be agile. And this is the giant framework of what agile is. These are so many tools that are out in the market right now. So you can see that agile is really huge. And each of the small bullets, this is, by the way, an agile landscape created by Christopher Webb. And each of the bullets are actually a methodology used. And the words in black are actually the phases of a project. So in initiate, those are all the methodologies. In discovering, there are all the methodologies. In delivering, there's all the methodologies. In releasing the product, there's all the methodologies. On top there, you can see scaling. And on the top right hand, you can see leadership. Let me blow up leadership. Leadership is agile leadership, not agile projects, agile leadership. And if you look at the things in yellow, you will see management 3.0. So management 3.0 is generally the agile leadership or agile business. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. What is management 3.0? How do you make your business agile? Yeah. So to understand management 3.0, let's go back to work and management of people. Now in the 1930s to the 1970s, 50s, those was the age of Renaissance, right? And basically they had many different crafts. And what would happen is the craft would hire apprentices. So for example, I'm a blacksmith. I would hire about 2 or 3 apprentices under me. You know, I'm a fisherman, and I would get 2 or 3 people under me. I'm a painter, and I would get maybe 4 or 5 people under me. And I would be the master, and the apprentices would learn from me. And families would sometimes even pay the masters to hire apprentices, right? But in this form of work or business, you do not need to manage people. There is no management, right? The apprentices just learn from you. So where did management come from? Management came during the Industrial Revolution in the 1970s to the 1900s. And basically factories started booming and they needed workers. But who would be the workers? Well, the workers would be the farmers and the fishermen and the sculptors and all those people needing jobs. They didn't have jobs, so they needed jobs and they came to the factories to work. But these people didn't know how to operate complex machinery. The machines were too complex for a sculptor to understand. They didn't have physics, for example. They didn't study engineering. They didn't even know how to operate machines. So a new form of management was needed in the Industrial Revolution, and that's where we have Management 1.0. And basically a few people who are engineers like Taylor and Fayol, they came out with this thing called scientific management. And basically this is Taylor's scientific management principle. Number 1, replace rule of thumb work methods with methods based on scientific study of the task. That means you don't try and operate the machine based on how you feel or your own experience, because you don't know how to operate such a complex machinery. So basically, I will study the best way to run a machine, and then I will teach it to you. Don't mess it with your own rule of thumb. Number two, for example, okay, now that I have the right way of doing it, I need to scientifically select, train, and develop each worker rather than letting them train each other as though they were apprentices, because the teacher may not even understand the machine themselves. Then number three, they need to cooperate with the workers to make sure that what was being taught is being understood. Because just because you teach it, and remember, these people are not educated. They may not understand what you're teaching them, so I have to scientifically make sure that they understand. And lastly, I need to actually divide work properly between managers and workers, and I even need to teach managers how to manage, because before this, there is no management. So this was Taylor's rule, and of course, Fayol came up with his own principles of management, and he came up with 14 principles of management. So for example, work needs to be divided properly. There needs to be strong authority. You need to discipline workers who are not doing things well. You know, there needs to be a unity of command and a unity of direction so people don't get confused. So he came out with all these must follow kind of principles. And even today, we are actually practicing some of this, like division of work. Everyone has their division of work. And even in companies, we divide departments. So there is a HR department, there is a finance department, there's a marketing department, and everybody is focused on what they do. So this is management 1.0. How do you manage workers? You know, the normal SOPs that we have today and the ISO standards, those are actually the children of management 1.0. They are basically management 1.0. So if you have an SOP, there's step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Please follow step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't try and come up with your own rule of thumb. Don't try and come up with any other way except the right way. And of course, we have also this. This is always a joke that comes out. Rule number 1, the boss is always right. Rule number 2, when the boss is wrong, refer to rule number 1. The boss is always right. And in the old days, I mean, that was true, because in the old days, the boss is always right, right? The workers don't know anything. But today, this rule still applies to certain companies. The boss is always right, even when they're not quite right. So now you kind of understand management 1.0. It's managing workers who need to be managed, yeah? And that's just one best way. Now, what happened is after the 1900s, so between the 1900s to 2000, we have management 2.0. And this is basically management science. Now, management science is slightly different from scientific management. Management science is the study of models, rather the study of the best way and things like that, right? Models and concepts, and then we teach you. So for example, if you were to take MBA or you would study business, this would be some subjects you would study: organizational behavior, quantitative methods, economics, financing, accounting, marketing management, human resource management, etc., and all these things. Now, all this is not one best way. So for example, if we study strategy, it's not like you must be a low-cost provider or you must be differentiated from your competitors. These are guidelines based on how they study the best companies, what they do. They create models. Then within that model, you are free to add your own analysis, your own additions to it to make it work for you. You don't have to follow the one way. I just give you a model and you use that model to create something really even better. And most of actually what we are doing nowadays in companies are management 2.0. KPIs, performance management, management 2.0. Strategic planning, SWOT analysis, management 2.0. The 4 P's in marketing: product, place, price, promotion. Those are just models or frameworks, and you can do anything with it. You don't have to follow the one way. Those are frameworks that guide you. So most of what we're doing is management 2.0. But management 2.0 is good, but it is not enough for crisis. So let me share with you Nokia. This is Nokia's results in 2008 Q1. They had 40% or slightly less than 40% of market share of mobile devices. By the end, they reached third quarter of 2013, they were less than 15%. And Nokia was the giant. And they became so bad that they had to sell off to Microsoft. And even after Microsoft acquired Nokia, they sold off Nokia after a few years. Now, this is the CEO of Nokia. And this was a press conference. He had to announce to shareholders, to employees, that Nokia was being acquired by Microsoft. And his name is Stefan Liop. He ended his speech saying, "We didn't do anything wrong, but somehow we lost." And after making that statement, all his management team, including himself, all cried. Now, Nokia is a respectable company and they didn't do anything wrong. If you look from a management 2.0 point of view, they are up there at the top. Their talent in their company is the best in the world. Their managers are the best in the world. Their learning and development is the best in the world. Their supply chain management is the best in the world. Their branding is the best in the world. Their marketing strategies are best in the world. Their product development is the best in the world. So they have all the management 2.0 principles, but yet they failed. They didn't do anything wrong, but they lost. Why? Because the world changed. You cannot use management 2.0 principles when the world has changed. And that's what's happening now in coronavirus. The world has changed, and even management 2.0 principles are not sufficient. So how do you do Agile? You need, and this is just some examples of, this is a release by Statista. This is in April 2020. This is the unemployment rate in the US in the month of April alone. And these numbers are just predicted to increase as we go month by month. So companies, all of this have, I guess, 1.0 and 2.0 theories, but it's no longer sufficient. This article in CNN says most airlines could be bankrupt. In fact, there's a new article that talked about all the articles now being bankrupt. Coronavirus stocks are being hit. That's why it's important to join ET Talks, so they can actually guide you. They can teach you, and they can teach you how to actually look at stocks well, so that you know how to make informed, agile decisions, right? Things like that. So now the Agile company sets aside any assumption that the way things have been are the way things are going to be. So the first step to being Agile is to let go. No matter how painful it is, you have to let go and move with the current. So Nokia couldn't let go of their business model, and so they died. They just wanted to stick to what they knew that they did well. So what is 3.0? Management 3.0 is created by this guy called Julius Wee. Now, Julius Wee created the term Management 3.0, but Management 3.0 was not created by him. Basically, he's a consultant and a business owner, and he helps Agile companies. And as he goes to different companies, he noticed that they were practicing things that were really, really different. So in 2010, he wrote a book about this, and it became a best-selling book. The book is called Management 3.0. And in 2016, he released another book called Managing for Happiness. Then he turned all his books and he took the best parts and he created a training. So now Management 3.0 is now international. It is in 136 countries and translated to more than 22 languages. In Malaysia, I'm the first certified facilitator. If I'm not mistaken, there's another facilitator in Malaysia. But basically, it's a worldwide international. And what is Management 3.0? It basically studies Agile companies and innovative companies and disruptive companies. What makes them what they are? So what makes a company a Management 3.0 company? How do you know if you stepped into one? So for example, Google. It's very agile. It's very innovative. So what are the factors. Now, there are 8 factors. If you walk into a company, you will know it's a 3.0 company. Number 1, the management and leadership have a very innovative, very entrepreneurial, very open to change and movement mindsets. Yeah, I won't go to this in detail. There's a lot of stuff in there. I'll just go through quickly. Number 2, they have this thing called complexity thinking. Now, there are 4 kinds of thinking models according to Seinfeld. I'll mention just 3. One is a simple thinking model. That means cause and effect. If I do A, I will definitely get B. Simple thinking. And a lot of SOPs are like that. If I do A, I must get B. The second thinking is complicated thinking. Complicated thinking is not A equals to B. Complicated is like scenario planning. Like there is no one best strategy, so we come out with 3 different scenarios and we choose the best strategy. We come up with different scenarios based on our knowledge and our models, and that's complicated thinking, right? No longer simple. The third kind of thinking is complexity thinking, which is management 3.0. And complexity thinking is this: I will not know what the outcome is, so I do first. And based on the result, whether it fails or it succeeds, I will learn from that. That's how I know. So I will do first with no guarantee of success, and I will learn from it. That's complexity thinking. So another thing that we can actually see when we go into a 3.0 company is people are energized because it's very innovative, it's very creative. No one has to force you to go to work on Monday. You will want to go to work on Monday. Teams are very empowered. Teams drive the company rather than managers drive the company. They have project teams that does this and this. They suggest to management we should do this. There are very strong constraints or alignment. So for example, for Tesla, they just said, give me an electronic car. And then all the engineers have the freedom to do what they want to do to create an electronic car. So the constraints are aligned. People follow the culture or the vision. Competence is being developed, but this is different from 2.0. In 3.0, the competence is, I'm in finance, but I would like to learn how to do marketing, and I would like to learn artificial intelligence. In 2.0, when we develop competence, we develop it within our own scope or our own frame. If I'm a finance person, I'll just learn finance for the rest of my life. But in 3.0, I develop my competence out of the box. The structures are also designed for growth. In 2.0 companies, you are finance department or HR department or IT department or whatever you are. In 3.0, it's not sorted by departments. So in a project, I could have a person from finance, I could have a person from marketing, I could have a person from operations, I could have a person from engineering, and we form a loose team to work on the project. And when the project is over after 2 or 3 months, the team breaks and they form new teams because there's new project. So the structures are very fluid and agile. And lastly, agile companies are very innovative. They improve everything. They're very entrepreneurial. So I'd like to give you an example of a practice of a management 3.0 company. Now this is called a celebration grid, and it's used for innovation. On the left-hand side and the right-hand side, you see failure and success. That means your innovation will result in a failure or in a success. Now in the top, you will see 3 things. The leftmost column is called mistakes. So some things that we do actually are bad things. They are mistakes. The middle one is experiments. That's where we do a lot of innovation and experimentation. And the right one is best practices, things that we should do. So let me give you an example based on the hospitality and travel industry, because everybody has traveled and stayed in a hotel once in a while. This is something you would understand. So what are some best practices? So say, for example, personalized service. Suddenly a hotel gives you personalized service and they go the extra mile. The customer is happy. Most hotels don't really do this. They give you a standardized service. That means all people are trained to check you in the same way. But suddenly you give a personalized service and you go the extra mile, suddenly the customer feels different. This is a good practice. And the customers are happy and they will refer friends. So it is successful. So these are good practices. But sometimes even good practices can lead to failure. So you notice it goes below the failure line. So for example, the airlines, a lot of airlines were coming up now with low fares. And the only way they can be profitable is they become a volume strategy. High volume, low fare, keep traveling. So AirAsia, Scoot, Virgin Air, all these are low fares volume strategy. This used to be a good practice, but it's fallen below the line because of coronavirus. Now, you can't have volume strategy. You may not be able to go volume strategy for 12 months. You may even have to make the middle R empty. And so they can't do low fares anymore. So this used to be a good practice, but now it's gone below the line to the failure part. So for example, mistakes. Sometimes I was in Paris a while ago. Some staff there are very indifferent. So for example, the security guard. I was lost and I asked the security guard for directions. And he would just point somewhere because maybe I'm not speaking French and speaking English, or maybe they are not bothered. They just say, go there, you know, and they point in a general direction, and that's not very good. That's a horrible experience. But sometimes mistakes can be successful. So for example, there was one time I went to Cameron Highlands. I went into a hotel. The check-in time was 3 o'clock. We arrived at 4 o'clock, and they said your room was not ready. And we were really upset. And the person knew that we were upset. So the person said, why don't, while we are waiting, I will show you to the hotel. I will show you the highlights. And while she was walking us to the hotel, she offered us a free massage or a free meal. Now that's not too bad. The person managed to turn the failure or mistake into something successful. Yeah. And in the middle, you have experiments. So experiments are, for example, there's this resort in Costa Rica, right? And in March, they had to close down because of coronavirus. Their business went down to 0. And they used to be a pretty exclusive, small resort catering to expatriates. And after a month or so, they decided to pivot. So since they can't have clients now, they decided to experiment by having signature healthy cuisines. And they would deliver this to expatriates around the island. Or they move their wellness experience and make it online. AirAsia came out with this, I think, in March. They have unlimited travel. You buy this ticket for a certain price, and you can travel as many places as you want for 12 months. Now, all these are experiments, and we don't know whether they will work or not. So this is what we call the celebration grid. And basically, companies have to realize what's working, what's no longer working, and what are experiments. And the key here is not whether it's successful or it's a failure. The key here to be agile is, are you learning? If you are a management 1.0 company, everything has to be a success. There's no room for failure. If you are 2.0 company, because the business environment is so uncertain, you can accept a little bit of failure, but it better be successful. In a 3.0 company, well, we allow you a 50% chance of failure. Why 50% chance? Because if it's a 90% chance of success, do you dare try something radical? No, you try something safe. If you try something safe, will you truly be innovative? No, it's just an incremental change. So the key to real innovation and transformation is to do experiments. Make it safe for people to fail. Do not punish failure. You know, as long as there's 50% chance, there's a good chance. So the question that I want to leave with you is, what are you experimenting with in this period of crisis? Don't try and fight against the hurricane. Learn to adapt. So in summary, what is 1.0? A lot of people ask me, so I'm 3.0, I don't need 1.0 anymore. And that's not true. You still need 1.0, and so 1.0 is like your foundation. The whole purpose of 1.0 is efficient operations. 0 error, everything done well. The purpose of 2.0 is growth. So we have strategic planning, we make things more efficient, we use the best models. But the purpose of 3.0 is evolution, change, innovation, agility, adaptability. So how do you become a 3.0 company? That's how you become agile. Now I show you this slide to show you that there are many practices. There are hundreds of practices that are being done in 3.0 and agile companies. I just shared with you the one in red, which is the celebration grid. So you can go and look at all these 3.0 companies like Tesla and Amazon, Alibaba, and Google, and you can adopt some of their practices. Yeah. So the key to overcoming crisis, management 3.0, and these are the 8 kind of areas that we would recognize a 3.0 company that separates it from a 2.0 company. So in closing, those of you who need more questions besides the questions that Benny is going to ask now, this is my contact. You can email me, and that's my phone. You can WhatsApp me even after this. I know we're having coronavirus right now. I'm going to run a course called the 6 Strategies to Surviving and Thriving in Coronavirus Downturn. This is a Zoom workshop. It's not a webinar. It is a training workshop where you actually go there, and there will be a lot of templates. There will be a lot of strategies and activities, right? The date is Tuesday, 2:30 to 5, because there are a lot of activities, and it's free because of the partnership with Equity Trackers. So you can thank them for this, right? That's the LinkedIn registration. This is the one that Elwin incidentally attended. So Elwin can tell you whether it's a good program to go to. Yeah. So those who want to go in, that's the registration link. It's only limited to 100 packs. So if it really interests you, just log in today, and we'll be covering 6 strategies, because one strategy alone is not enough to survive coronavirus. Yeah. So you need to tap on the government. The government just released a new plan today, and I'll talk about that on Tuesday. You need to change your financial plan. You need to be 3.0. You need to look for new opportunities. So the 6 strategies I'll be sharing with you are not just 3.0 strategies. It's a mixture of 2.0 strategies and 3.0 strategies. Yeah. So
I think also for the viewers, just to let them know, they can actually download these slides right after this.
Yes, I sent the slides. You can download the slides.
Yeah. So if you guys want to download the slides and you're interested in slides, you know what to do. It's 603-8408-2070. Yeah, that's where you're gonna download it. Yeah, Benny's gonna pull that up. Benny, is it already live on WhatsApp? This
it's not live yet. Maybe after this session, you should be able to get these slides downloaded.
Okay.
Yep. So guys, if you have any questions right now, you can start asking the questions. And while you are digesting what Julius have just mentioned, I'm just going to make a few announcements first. Like Elvin mentioned, you can actually download the slides today by Julius. All you need to do is to WhatsApp us at 603-8408-2070, and then you choose English freebies, and you should be able to see today's presentation, and we're going to name it as Management 3.0. You can download the slides there. All right, and at the same number as well, for those who are new, who haven't have access to our Equity Tracker platform, we're going to give a free 2 weeks access to those who are interested to look at financial data of public listed companies in Malaysia, to do your own research, your own analysis, and to do filters to find companies to invest in. Right, so it is available for free for 2 weeks for those who have not registered. WhatsApp us as well at 603-8408-2070. Right. We've also started this session called Investors Studio. This is where we bring corporate leaders, CEOs, CFOs, the C-suites, any one of them who are able to actually come to represent their company to give certain announcements of updates. We bring the CEOs directly to you guys. All right, but this is only by invitation basis. It's not like it's not like copy time where you could just come and view it, right? So whenever we bring a CEO or a CFO or whoever that represents the company into Investor Studio, you are able to join and ask questions directly from the captains or the industries themselves. all right? But you have to register. So please register on the link that I just show you here, or you can also click on the link that we have actually posted on our comment section, right? We pin it there. There's a link there. You can also register, all right? So you have to register. Once you register, we will, and once we have our CEO, then you will be receiving your emails, all right, for that particular session. So please register. For now, it is still free. It's still open. But the numbers will be limited because we can't allow too many people to come in as well. So please do register as soon as you can. All right. And lastly, we also have our e-learning online, platform where you are able to learn to be a well-informed investor using fundamental analysis or technical analysis. We are running a charity drive, so you can actually attend this for free. But this is only going to be until the MCO ends. And today we do not have any announcement yet, right? It's more on a stimulus package. So it's not over yet, so you can still attend this. All you need to do is to make 100 ringgit donation to any charity, right? Any charity to your liking, and keep the receipt, right? You have to make a minimum of 100 ringgit to any charity, and then go to charity.equitystracker.com to register yourself. Keep the receipts because we'll be asking you to upload the receipts to attend this online e-learning. Okay, this is where you have about 40 hours of videos, and not only that, those videos are for learning. We also have a weekly mentorship session where Alvin and I will be conducting, each of us one day, right? A half day, 1 hour per day. So Alvin will go on Tuesday, and I will go on live on Wednesday for you to ask questions. So it's not just an e-learning video, but we also engage you. And if you have any questions, you can ask us as well. All right. So far, those guys who have joined us, thank you very much. You guys have donated 157,833. But this was yesterday's number. The number probably has gone up, right? So well done, guys. We hope to achieve by MCO 250,000. So please do share this to as many as your friends as possible, so that they too can gain an advantage of learning this to be a well-informed investor right now for free. Okay, all they need to do is to do 100 ringgit donation. Okay, and besides that, once the person makes 100, once you make 100 ringgit donation, you can also invite 3 friends to attend our e-learning online campus. All right, so you can bring 3 friends. The details are all there. Just go to charity.equitystracker.com. All right.
Yep. I think the latest amount raised is 158,983. So about 1,005 from yesterday. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Now we go to our Q&A. Right. So if you have any questions, you can type it out right now. This is an opportunity for you to ask Julius, who has, I think you have seen many companies as well, Julius, right? In your training.
Yeah.
But were most of them were able to implement the management 3.0 after that workshop that you've gone through?
Whether companies have implemented 3.0 depends on mainly the leader. So if you notice one of the slide decks, I showed you that Martian kind of monster. We call it Marty the monster, right? Mm-hmm. And if you look at it, right at the bottom is management and leadership. So the key to actually transforming an organization is always the leader. Do they have a very agile, innovative, entrepreneurial, letting their people go kind of mindset? Those that still are the 1.0, the boss is always right, listen to the boss, you can't. Someone has asked me before, what's the difference between 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0? 1.0, you are managing workers, okay? 2.0, you are managing knowledge workers. 3.0, you are managing creative workers. So if people just want to be workers, that means boss tell me I just do I don't want to think, then use 1.0 because they don't want to think, they just want to work. 2.0 are knowledge workers. These people want to work, but they have their own ambitions. They maybe graduated with a degree. They are quite smart and intelligent. So you put them into a brainstorming or come up with strategic planning or come up with some problems. They will be able to solve it. So 2.0, if you look at it, is very managing knowledge workers. And 3.0 is managing creative people, creative workers, those that actually want to suggest to the boss, maybe we can do this experiment, maybe we can do this experiment, maybe we can run this business, you know. If you try a 3.0 method on 1.0 workers, you're dead. That means you release the organization, but people don't want to think. But if you try, for example, a 1.0 management style on creative workers, they will leave because they feel very stifled. So to answer your question, do companies adopt it? Firstly, it depends on the leader, and then it depends on the workers.
Right. So is it applicable for all sectors, all industries?
Not in the same extent. Industries that need innovation, that need to change, that need to be entrepreneurial, that need to be agile, then it is more applicable. So say for example, one of my clients, they do 𝗘𝗧 𝗢𝐻𝗶𝐀 plantation, right? I mean, how many creative ways can you chop down a 𝗘𝗧 𝗢𝐻𝗶𝐀, right? However, certain industries are in danger of being expired, so they need innovation. So 3.0 companies are not necessarily just for tech companies, but companies that want to be innovative and release their creative workers.
Yeah, so it really depends, right, on the management themselves, the C-suites themselves, to really use management 1.0 or 2.0 on 3.0, depending on, let's say, the departments that you mentioned, right? I mean, those like factory workers, they have this SOP and so on and so forth. There's nothing much creative over there, lah. So I mean, like you said, even using the different management styles, 1.0, 2.0, or 3.0, is also showing that the management is being agile, in a sense, right?
Yes, it is. It is.
Okay.
I like what Google is doing. What Google is doing is 20% of not your time. That's a misrepresentation of Google, because one day of the week is not up to them. They still have to work 5 days a week. But 20% of your time must be done doing something out of your work scope. I like that, because that means 20% of your time, you're actually doing 1.0 or 2.0 kind of stuff, you know. But 80% of your time, you're doing your normal stuff. But 20% of your time, you have to be creative. So they create a system where it allows workers to be entrepreneurial and things like that. And it's part of their job description.
Actually, I just like to ask the audience, you know, I'm just curious, you know, the organization you work for, or the you know, the business that you run, you know, if you're going to be very honest yourself, what culture is it that you think your work environment is in? You know, is it management 1.0 where you are just a worker and you have to just keep pressing buttons, right? And you have to fill out a lot of forms, there's a lot of SOPs. Or are you talking about 2.0 where there is some sort of degree in learning? Of course, you know, then you got 3.0. But actually, I also want to highlight that, you know, this agile thinking got me thinking about investing as well. You know, I think a lot of investors, you know, when coronavirus hit, they were holding on to their losing stocks, thinking that things will go exactly back to normal. I think that is kind of agile thinking that will also go a long way in managing your own portfolio as well. Yeah.
Right. Julius, you mentioned, I mean, the examples that you give, you always quote, you know, management 3.0, and most of them are technology companies, right? But how is it like all those old-fashioned industrial kind of businesses, you know, pivot themselves to be management 3.0? And furthermore, we have this Asian culture where the boss, like you said, that's not right. The boss is always right, right? So how can they change that kind of mindset, right? To become so is it really depends on them, or is there a way to actually change? And you know, the reason for the change is probably more stronger than just keeping the way it is.
So your question is, are there other industries? And yes, there are. So for example, 𝘧𝘃𝗀𝘀 is one company that actually is very 3.0 in its thinking. They allow a lot of creativity among their workers to delight the guests, and they share these ideas worldwide. So everybody is constantly learning from each other. So they are very, very 3.0. So you don't have to be necessarily a tech company to be 3.0. Like for example, my own company, I'm doing training and consulting. I'm not a tech company necessarily, but I would actually lead my team through 3.0. I would listen to ideas from everybody, regardless of their job description, whether they are just an operations executive or whatever, because sometimes they can come up with some really novel ideas. So it's more of the mindset than the industry. But you are right, Benny. I find it harder to break through the baby boomer generation to make them 3.0.
And we got a question here for you, Julius. From your experience, this is from Daniel 2. He said, would you say Malaysian companies are mostly 1 and 2, and management 1.0, and management 3.0 is quite scarce?
And to answer that, I think he's right. We have a lot of 1.0, and that's actually also true worldwide, because 3.0 is not totally new, but it hasn't permeated the market yet. So Daniel is right in saying that a lot of companies, what companies are 3.0? I think AirAsia has a lot of 3.0 practices, because I think Tony Fernandez is very 3.0 in his thinking. I believe that the ex-CEO of Digi is also very 3.0. When Digi was really creative and they started dominating the market with a lot of new things, out of the box things that other telcos will not do. I think Digi was that too. So we do have certain industries or companies that are 3.0 in Malaysia.
Okay, we got a second question here. This is from our own Andrew Wong here. He's a big fan of Agile. Agility, right? Okay. So Julius, do you see that creative workers looking for jobs, do you see creative workers actually looking for jobs, or do you think they are looking for collaborative style of business partnerships where creative workers work for themselves, but you can hire them for their talent? That means they don't do the 9 to 5 thing.
Yeah, the very fact that they are creative workers and a lot of millennials means they are generally quite entrepreneurial already. I'm not sure whether it's the schooling system or what they've been exposed to. Maybe they've seen a lot of teenagers becoming millionaires. Maybe it's easier to actually start your own business. So to answer Andrew's question, I think he's right in both extents. You will actually find creative workers that want a partnership, and you actually want creative workers that want to work for a forward-moving company. So say, for example, people in Tesla and Apple and Google and all these companies, they don't want a partnership. They are willing to work for Google. They are willing to work for Microsoft, provided you give them the creative space. Yeah, so you will find both kind of creative workers.
Okay.
Right.
Benny, you got a next question? Yeah.
Yeah, we have another question here by KP Will our local workforce ready to accept 3.0, given that lots of workforce prefer to be led rather than being innovative? How organization able to change that kind of mindset?
That's a tough question, man.
Yeah, I guess this has to do with our education system also as well, right? It's all like you just listen and don't talk back.
Yeah, it's a challenge. The first thing that I think you should do is you should ask yourself about your own company. What percentage of my company should be 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0? Where should my company be 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0? And make a list. And then you actually map your workers to that area. So say, for example, you want a 3.0 company. and you keep hiring 1.0 staff, you should actually block it at the hiring process. You should only hire people that actually want to be 3.0. But say, for example, you have a lot of 1.0 staff, your business model is 1.0, you don't have to actually hire 3.0 staff because they're going to leave anyway. They feel very suffocated in your organization. So if your business model is 1.0, you don't have to try and squish it into 3.0, right? Also, it's harder to change people. So within your company, let's say you have 150 workforce there, right? It's very easy to actually map out. You just take a list and you write down who in my company is 3.0, who in my company is 2.0, and you manage them accordingly. So 3.0, you actually give them more challenging projects, more innovative and entrepreneurial projects. Yeah, 1.0, you just give them the basic thing and just make them work like robots.
All right. Okay, and I have another question here. This is from our ET Online campus. So as a operational staff or junior management, they are often in the front line, knowing that some of the things are happening. How do we manage upward or influence our upper management to change from 2.0 to 3.0?
Okay, firstly, send them for 3.0 thing, training, either online or whatever, because I've been training managers for 2.5 years, and every time they go to the training program, it's suddenly their world has exploded. Oh, we are in a new era, and they start understanding it. So one way to actually change your management from 2.0 or 3.0 is there are also YouTube Management 3.0 worldwide has also released small little videos, so you can actually get them to see those videos. You can get them to attend a training. Otherwise, it's very hard for them to conceptualize what is 3.0. The second thing to actually influence managers, and this is a challenge that I've had for the last 2 years, is some people try to change the entire organization. They said, we can't be 3.0 because our senior level managers are not 3.0. There's no way we can do it. And they are totally right. So what you can actually do is work within those management that are open to 3.0. So maybe, for example, the HR department is ready for 3.0. The managers are ready for 3.0. So work within that small department first. Don't try and change the entire organization because it could be a bit too massive. Of course, one advantage now during coronavirus is actually companies have to be 3.0 or they're going to die. So this is the best time to move towards 3.0 for companies, because it's either 3.0, if they are severely affected by the economy, they really have to go 3.0 or they're dead. So yeah, best time now.
Yeah, I actually, a lot of my team get my Agile thing. I say, hey, let's be Agile, and they actually get quite frustrated at me. But I must say it's not overnight. We have to constantly experiment. But of course, we need to balance off the 1 and 2 and 3 as well. We can't just all be 3. It's a balance, especially with certain processes. Yeah.
All right. Let's go take a look at another question. There's another question here. This is from Daniel Chua. Hi, Julius. You mentioned Management 3.0. There's no more departments. So who to assign job scope or responsibilities?
Okay. Maybe I phrased it wrongly. It's not that there are no more departments. So for example, in Google, you still have departments. But what happens is when I say that the Agile workflow, the structures are Agile, means that in a lot of strong 2.0 and 1.0 companies, they heavily guard their department. That means they don't interact with other departments. They don't collaborate very well. When requests coming from other departments, they are, unless it's pushed from higher management, sometimes they put their own priorities first. So there's a lot of silos between departments. Sometimes you even hear between sales and marketing fighting with each other. And they are related departments, right? So what I'm saying in the 3.0, a company that is 3.0 will still have 2.0 structures and will still have 1.0 SOPs. It's just that in the 3.0 now, they've elevated their mindset so that I'm not just finance or I'm not just HR. We are one big company and we will collaborate on this project because the project is higher than all of us. It's higher than my department, it's higher than my priorities. So yes, there will still be the normal roles and responsibilities. There will still be the normal departments, but you see a lot stronger collaboration happening between people and between departments.
Okay. Yeah, so that itself is being agile.
Yep, it is.
All right, there's a question here from Melissa Lua. Perhaps a non-town hall will help the more shy people to speak up. People are typically fearful of putting themselves out of fear of being judged. Is that one of the things that I think characteristic, especially in Asian countries like us, right? We are too afraid to speak up. Right? So how does that suit in in management 3.0?
In 3.0, you just be agile to people. So say, for example, those of you who are attending the talk on Tuesday, I'm very aware that there will be introverts there. So when there are breakout rooms, are actually 3 to 4 or maybe 2, because introverts are very comfortable with pairs. They're not comfortable with big groups. So in 3.0 or agile companies, the way you manage people is flexible. To introverts, you have the introvert style. 3.0 companies are also very focused on strength-based. There's this new methodology. It's not so new. It's been around for a while by Gallup. It's called strength-based leadership. It means not all leaders carry the same strength, you know. And 3.0 companies will recognize that. So say, for example, I'm in a finance department, right? And one person is more talkative, and things like that. One person is perhaps more meticulous, just don't like to talk to people, just like to create systems in the finance department. So a 3.0 finance department will recognize that there are different traits within their department, and to the talkative person, they will make this person collaborate with other departments, maybe to chase them for their end-month reports. But for the person who is more meticulous, you give more process creation jobs, right? So you're very agile. But currently what we're doing in 2.0 is we are cookie cutting. That means the moment you join the finance department, everybody has to be the same job scope. Everybody has to do balance sheets. Everybody has to do everything. We're not taking into account their personality. We're not taking into account their traits. We're not taking into account their previous experience. So we're not very even being agile even within the own department. Yeah. So that's how you actually work with people who are, for example, introverts. Then you don't get them to participate in group discussions. You get them to participate in one-to-one, or maybe write their points out in a piece of paper or into a WhatsApp group. They're okay with that.
All right, do you have any questions there, Alvin, on YouTube or the other platform?
Yeah, no, I think YouTube is a bit quiet tonight. The rest is okay. I think maybe we just wrap it up. We got one last question, right? I think the question was skillful management 1.0 or less skillful management 3.0. Which one would you hire if it's IT?
If it's an IT business,
yeah. So if it's an IT personnel, and you're trying to hire, but it's 1.0 but it's skillful, and then there's 3.0 but less skillful. That's the question. Which one would you hire?
it depends on my business model. If I need a person that is just going to deliver the end product, I would hire the skillful 1.0 because they're just going to deliver the end product and they are very good in it. However, if my company, my IT company, I need to create something pretty revolutionary, then I would hire a non-skillful 3.0 person because they will be able to pick up the skills eventually. But the main task is actually to create something revolutionary and not to deliver the end result. So it always ties down to your business model. Do you need 1.0 more? Do you need 3.0 more?
Okay. Okay. This question that I personally want to ask myself as well. Because we are talking about being agile in times of crisis, right? So I have two questions actually, which is related to this. Number one, do you think 𝐴𝐴𝐴𝐺𝐴 is a management 3.0 company?
Okay, firstly, we have to be very wise, right? A lot of companies are a blend. Okay, a lot of companies are a blend of 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. It's just that some companies are, you can't classify a company as, oh, you're 1.0. Because even a 1.0 company would have marketing and they would have other things, right? So they would have elements of 2.0. So I think it's very dangerous to just classify your 1.0, 2.0, or 3.0, but it's just the weightage. How much of each do you have, So just because you're a 3.0 company doesn't mean that you don't have 1.0 practices. So for example, in 𝐴𝐴𝐴𝐴𝐴, people will still have to submit their financial reports on time. They will still have to follow certain SOPs when checking the airplane. I mean, I don't want a 3.0 aircraft engineer walking around the engines and saying, today I'm going to try something new, Maybe if I plug the screwdriver here, the plane will be, no, you follow the SOP. I want the plane to fly. You know what I mean? So a lot of stuff in 𝐴𝐴𝐴𝐴 is 1.0. But why I use 𝐴𝐴𝐴𝐴𝐴 as a 3.0 model is because of the little things that I see Tony Fernandez doing, going online. A lot of innovation actually comes out from 𝐴𝐴𝐴𝐴𝐴. They're always moving forward. So I find that their management is open to new ideas. So I think 𝐴𝐴𝐴𝐴 is a company that has a lot of 1.0 elements because they have to be in the airline. They are Six Sigma. My goodness, they have to be 1.0. I think they are very strongly 2.0 also, but I think they also have strong elements of 3.0. So we can't really say a company is just 1.0 or 2.0 or 3.0, but how much do you adopt? Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm asking this as well because now we are in a crisis. Of course, tourism, including airlines, is one that's being hit hard by the coronavirus crisis, right? So, so even a company, let's say, have management 3.0, and if they are in the wrong sector like this, so happen to be in this sector, how would they be able to come out from it, right?
Okay. How they come out of it is, it'll be very similar to the workshop that I'm doing on Tuesday, where there are actually 6 strategies. Like I said, there are a blend of 2.0 strategies and 3.0 strategies. So in the workshop on Tuesday, for example, there are things like cost cutting. They have to actually cut costs. They actually have to realize their new break-even point. They probably have to sell off airlines. They probably have to let their staff take pay cuts and things like that. They probably have to stream down their operations, go to less places, start from scratch. But a 3.0 mindset, there's nothing much you can do, for example, in the airline industry. But if you take the hint from Jeff Bezos, which is the CEO of Amazon, what you can do now as, for example, if you were 𝐴𝐴𝐴𝐴𝐴, for example, is start other business ventures that can give you some revenues that are not necessarily linked to airlines. I'm not asking you to throw away the airline industry. I'm asking you to diversify creatively. So that will be a very strong 3.0 thinking. If you look at Amazon, they started off as an online platform selling physical books. Then they moved to selling paper books, e-books. Then after that, they started moving to selling baby products and apparels and electronics and all kinds of products online. Then they started competing with Netflix and even Disney Plus channel, and they came out with their own Amazon channel. Then they started going back into stores where they bought whole store, right? And then they innovated in whole store, where you go into whole store, you do not even have to use your credit card now. You take whatever vegetables you want, you walk out of the store, it knows who bought what. I mean, that's really innovative. And they're going into cloud services. So Amazon is really diversifying. And companies that are really stuck right now, they still have some reserve cash flows. So what they need to do is they need to do some 2.0 practices to do cost cutting, re-strategize, wait for the market to turn around, things like that. But they also need to diversify because they need new streams of income now. And that's where a lot of 3.0 thinking comes in. How can you reinvent your business for the new normal?
So I guess a company that already practiced this will able to adapt and to be agile in this kind of scenario, whereas a company that only practices the old management style, they'll find difficulties in managing this kind of situation, all right?
Yep.
So guys, like I said, so Julius is giving out free access on Tuesday to attend, and definitely Alvin and I will vouch for this because we have attended before. So I hope that you are able to join Julius on Tuesday, right? Yeah, Julius?
Yep, Tuesday 2:35.
Yeah, so his slides, you are able to download the slides later tonight when we upload it up. You should have the link there. And maybe Julius, you can also just type the link in our comment section so that those guys can come and register as well, because maybe they may have missed the slides, the link on your slides earlier.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so it's already 9:50. We're going to have our Mandarin session in just about 2 minutes. So guys, you can hop on to our Mandarin session. We have a link over there. You can hop on. And Julius, thank you very much for joining us. You know, it has been a really a good session, at least to know about Management 3.0. And I hope that guys who are listening will be able to seriously consider using Management 3.0. All right. So, and if you guys who have attended, thank you very much for joining us. Tomorrow we'll have a session. Once again, Alvin and I will be on talking about market indicators, because a lot of people is asking whether it is still too late to invest. All right, so we're going to come and address that question. All right.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. So, Alvin, you have anything else to?
No, that's it. Thanks for joining us, guys. For all our subscribers and club members, don't forget tomorrow 3 p.m. we have a very important segment, which is we're going to talk about the hard disk drive industry and what stocks that are involved. So yeah, if you guys don't forget, as long as you're in our Facebook private group, you will have access. You don't need to register. It's already in there. If you're not in there yet, please give us a call at 603-840-82070. All right.
Thank you very much for joining us, and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Again, Julius.
Thanks again, Julius. Thank you.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.